Okay, say something, Bill.
This is Bill Nash,
Gotcha.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
And folks, today we've got a very special interview in our studios. This week we've got Mr. Bill Nash, who is not from Hartwell, but used to be from this neck of the woods. In fact, he's a former disc jockey at WKLY Radio just a few years ago. Bill, get our listeners up to date. When did you work at WKLY?
Well, it was only 72 years ago, Mike.
Just
I
72.
started about June the 1st, 1952. I was 16 years old, had just graduated from Emmanuel Academy in Franklin Springs, Georgia. Best job I ever had in my entire life.
Bill, who was working here then?
Well, Broadus McLean was our engineer. Max Fender was the general manager. Louis Morris had founded and was the owner. George Page turned out to be a world famous TV announcer specializing in wildlife. Jenny Morris. I've forgotten some of the others. Some wonderful people.
And the station actually started, I think, in 1948, so you were here within the first 4 to 5 years
Absolutely.
of existence. Yeah.
I was signed on the station every morning and off at 9 o'clock, and I had a 9:10 class that fall at Emmanuel Junior College. I was late every single day.
What kind of music did you play back then, Bill?
Country, gospel, pop.
Okay, okay. You said you enjoyed this job.
It was wonderful. And when I finished at Emmanuel Junior College, I went on to the Bulldog University, and I worked at WGAU over there. I had a wonderful show every night from 8 till midnight called Dancing in the Dark.
And then once you graduated University of Georgia, what happened in life then?
I got married to a wonderful girl named Edna Earl Putman from Royston. We moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma shortly thereafter, and I went to work for Oral Roberts in his radio and TV department. And in a very short time, he bought a local radio station, and I became general manager of KFMJ for 4 years. And then I left the radio business and joined the Bank of Oklahoma, heading public relations and marketing. I knew very little about banking, but I started going to school. I went to Northwestern in Chicago and Evanston 2 summers. I went to Oklahoma State in Stillwater and graduated from the Oklahoma Intermediate School of Banking. And in 1973, I started my own bank, United Bank, right next to Oral Roberts University in Tulsa. I ran it for 10 years, sold it to Bank of America, and walked out crying with my pockets full of money. So I retired 40 years ago.
And what have you been doing since?
I moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, kept my home in Tulsa, and I cut down trees, limb them up, split the wood, and keep my little log cabin up there warm with firewood, and spend most every day photographing moose, deer, elk, black bear, red foxes out my window. I live in a zoo without any fences.
Bill, the most I know about Jackson Hole is I watch the car auction they have there every year, and that's what I know about Jackson Hole. Do you ski?
Not anymore. I'll be 90 in a few days, and I'm too old to get hurt on skis.
Well, you look like you're in excellent shape.
I am. I play golf 3 days a week. I still cut about 8 cords of firewood every summer. I go up there from Tulsa in around June the 1st, stay till about October the 1st. Then I come back down to Tulsa, spend the winters, and avoid all that snow in Jackson Hole.
We've had a little bit of snow this year, and I couldn't stand that. What brings you back to your old stomping grounds?
I've got my daughter, Beth Colvard, with me, and I'm showing her. My mother was a McCurley, Frances McCurley. She grew up in my video area and taught school there when she was a youngster. And I have some cousins here, and some cousins of my wife, Mary Jean Holland. Billy Holland just passed away a couple of months ago, was the county clerk here for many years. And Nancy Kraft Coyle. She was my mother's sister's daughter, so I've been over visiting her this morning. And this afternoon I'm going back to Emmanuel and visit some of my friends over there.
Can you believe Emmanuel University now?
No. When I sold my bank, I went back over there, and my mother was head of the music department there for many, many years and taught in the smallest little building on campus. And I told them I'd put a pretty good check in the retirement, in the scholarship fund, if they would rename that Nash Chapel, and they did. So I'm going to take my daughter over to see Nash Chapel.
Well, Bill, it's always fun to get former disc jockeys, and we've had a slew over the years. I mean, some really famous people, and you mentioned some, and now you're going to be added to our list, because I did not know about you. I've heard about a lot of other people, but I'm sure, you know, Broadus McLean, he trained me when I first got into radio. Broadus was my man. Broadus would throw a million names out there, and I was like, okay, you know, I just kind of passed over my head, like, I don't know who that person is. I've heard of that person, this person. You're one of them that I'm so glad to meet today. It's a pleasure to have you in our studios.
Thank you, Mike. Birch Griffin, too. I didn't mean to leave him out. He was a big name here, and I ran into him with Governor Hall when we were back dedicating Nash Chapel several years ago. We were taking a little hike down around the courthouse and down along the railroad tracks, and here comes Birch at 7 in the morning on Sunday.
Well, listen, Bill, it's a pleasure to have you and your daughter in our studios today. And don't be a stranger. You're a young whippersnapper. I mean, come on back anytime.
Okay, Mike. Thank you so much. You've been a great host.
Folks, thank you for listening in with this. Our special guest today, former WKLY disc jockey, part of the family here, Mr. Bill Nash.